Hello and welcome back. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today I have another tabletop review and comparison for you. We will be taking a look at the AREX Rex Zero and the Sig P226. We're going to start with an unboxing and then we will do a point-by-point comparison on the two handguns. If you've seen our videos before, you know the drill. Let's go ahead and get into it now. Alright, starting off with the Sig 226, we do have a hard case here. I'll go ahead and open up. Warranty and instruction information here. Gun safety lock, test sample, lubricant sample there. Right here in the center is our pistol. There is a clear chamber flag indicator there. Now inserted is a 15-round magazine. Also, right here is a spare 15-round magazine as well. Alright, here for the Rex Zero, it is also in a hard case. I'll go ahead and open these two tabs. Right inside in the top panel, actually I'll flip this back over to you. Top panel is a gun safety lock, warranty and instruction information. Throwing this back around to you, there's the handgun right here in the center. Go ahead and check that we are clear. Here we do have two 17-round magazines, and that is all. So the reasons for doing this comparison are very obvious. The AREX Rex Zero looks almost identical to the Sig P226, and the two are often compared with one another. So I'm going to move through basically the essential differences, which there are some, and give you an overall outline idea. Usually if somebody's considering going into a Rex Zero, they are somewhat new to the market, but these pistols have been around for a while. AREX is located in Slovenia, and these pistols are imported by Fime Group out of Las Vegas. So the pistols have been around for a while. They're just brand new to the US market. So there is a little bit of a legacy here. Of course, everybody knows about the history of the 226 with the excellent German engineering and its use in both German and US military forces, as well as other military forces around the country, or I'm sorry, around the world. So we'll go ahead and take a look at those comparisons. Starting off with overall specifications, I'll go ahead and start here with the Rex Zero S. Of course, this is S, the standard model, standard size. This does also come in a compact variant. This is also kind of in a flat dark earth tone. You can also get it in just all black. Anyway, the barrel length on this is 4.25 inches, the overall length is 7.5 inches, the height is 5.5 inches, and the weight is 28.48 ounces. Moving over to the Sig 226, we do have a barrel length of 4.4 inches, an overall length of 7.7 inches, a height of 5.5 inches, and a weight of 34 ounces. So to quickly recap, the barrel length on the 226 is just a little bit longer. The overall length on the 226 is just a little bit longer. The height on both pistols is actually the same at 5.5 inches. And the overall weight on the 226 is a little bit heavier at about a heavier weight of about 3.5 ounces. So moving into the slide construction, the slide on the AREX is a forged steel slide, and it does have a nitro-carbonized finish. What that basically is the nitro-carbonizing is a form of nitriding, similar to what we see on Glock finishes, which is a variation of case hardening. It actually puts a little bit of a thinner case harden on the finish itself as opposed to the standard nitriding. But Glock uses what they call the gas nitride. Then there's melanite, which Springfield uses the term, as well as others. Armonite finish, which is used by Smith & Wesson. It's really just another term meaning more or less the same thing. Now the finishing process is slightly different. It is a little bit cheaper, quicker, and easier to do than the standard nitriding. Per my research, I'm not a physicist or a chemist or whatever you want to call it, but just per my research, it's a little bit quicker, and it still does leave that very nice nitride-esque type finish on the part. Moving it in for you here, we do have slide serrations on the rear as well as up at the front, again for that nice gripping for press checking. Up at the top, we do have our sights, which is a 3-dot configuration. They are both dovetailed in the rear and in the front, so can be drift adjusted for windage in both the front and the back. Of course, they're not elevation adjustable. Here on the top, there is a loaded chamber indicator. And then, of course, we have our serial number information here, as well as the firearm row markings here. So moving over to the slide on the P226, it is machined out of stainless steel and it does have a nitron finish. Nitron finish is essentially an ion bond, which is good for application onto stainless steel. Bringing it in close, we do have slide serrations on the rear, but we do not have them on the front like we saw on the AREX. This is our extractor, which is on the external of the slide. Over here we have our 6-hour P226 roll markings. Up at the top we do have our iron sights, which are steel in construction in a 3-dot configuration. The front is dovetailed in and is drift adjustable. However, the rear is not dovetailed. Being the R version, R standing for rail, the Nitron rail version, I guess this is pretty much the standard configuration that 226s come in today. This does come equipped with night sights. Now, moving into the triggers, we'll start here with the 226. This is metal in construction. Being a hammer-fired gun, it is double or single action. That basically means with the hammer in the forward position, by pulling it, I can create 2 actions, both pulling the hammer to the rear and firing the gun. In this fire mode, the trigger pull weight on the 226 is at about 10 pounds. We'll go ahead and show that to you now. So you do have that heavier trigger pull. It does pull through very cleanly till we get to about there, and then just 1 or 2 more pounds of pressure will go ahead and fire the pistol. Now remember, when it does fire in double action, it'll cycle, thus leaving the hammer to the rear, which puts us in single action. Remember, pulling the trigger gives you 1 action, it just fires the pistol. So we will see a little bit of take up there. You hit that obvious wall and then pull through, and that fires at about 4.4 pounds. Now let's talk about reset. With our reset, there is quite a bit of travel. It'll move all the way to about right there. You just heard that. Now we are reset. Again, there's a little bit of take up there and fires. I'm going to digress a little bit. If you've ever looked at the SRT, that's the short reset trigger. You do get on some specialty 226s like the Elite models, the Legion. The SRT trigger, the short reset trigger on that, the reset is phenomenal. I wish I had one here to show you, but go take a look at that if you ever get a chance. Now, one other feature, and I'll go ahead and show you this now because this is an important difference when we look at the AREX. So with the hammer to the rear position, obviously we're in single action. If you wanted to if you wanted to insert a loaded magazine and then chamber around, of course your hammer will be indexed to the rear and you'll be on single action. Now say you want to carry the pistol with that chamber in the round. Now this does not have any mechanical safeties on it, so what you can do to avoid carrying with that 4.5 pound trigger is you can push down on this lever. By doing so, when you push all the way down, you'll hear that little click, and then that is a decocker. Of course, by dropping that, that would not fire the pistol. It would just decock your hammer, and then now you're on double action and ready to go when you need to. Now, taking a look at the AREX, we'll go ahead and look at the trigger. It is also metal in construction. It is a double single action trigger, just like we saw on the 226, so I won't go over those basic design features with you again. But essentially on the pull, now this is one thing I noticed, is the double action pull is at about 12 pounds, so about 2 pounds heavier than the double action pull on the 226. But to me, that is just extremely noticeable. I mean, you almost really have to struggle to get that through. Now, I will say the brake is a little bit cleaner, so there is a little bit less travel. Then you hit that wall and it's a nice clean brake, so less travel here than on the 226. But man, is it heavier. Now, of course, the reset is a little bit less travel in my opinion. It's still a little bit of travel there, but less than the 226. And then we get into a nice single action trigger like we mentioned, which there's a little bit of take up right there. You hit that clean wall and a brake, again at about 4.4 to 4.5 pounds, so identical to the 226. So the trigger overall, I'm going to give the edge to the 226, as it is just feels so much easier to pull in double action. It's just not nearly this hard. Maybe with some practice breaking the pistol in, that'll lighten up a little bit, but it just seems excessively long and hard to me. That's what she said. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna leave that in. So one other point I'm gonna make, and these are usually the features I talk about when we go over the frame, so I'll kind of touch on those now anyway. On the 226, and I'll bring this back in for you, we noticed that this here was our decocker. So with the hammer to the rear, I can push down on that and that decocks the pistol. Also, if I pull this to the rear, right here is our slide stop or slide release lever. So of course, by pushing that down, that would drop the slide. And then of course I can decock the pistol again. On this side, there's no controls at all. So here on the AREX, it's very similar. So with the hammer to the rear, of course, this is our decocker, so I can go ahead and push that down to decock the pistol, just like we did on the 226. Now, one other difference is this right here. This is no longer our slide stop, just like we saw the same control back here on the 226. This, because you see the little red dot, is our safety. So if it's ready to fire, I guess in single or double action, you can go ahead and push this lever up, and that is our safety lever, and it is ambidextrous, so it is actuated on both sides. So then you're probably wondering, well then where's the slide release? Well, if the slide is to the rear, the second function of our hammer decocker is that this lever is now also a slide stop or slide release. So if the slide is in the rear, by pushing down on this, that would release our slide as well, and then I can push on it a second time to drop my hammer. So it gives both functions to this lever and then turns this one into a safety. I'm going to go ahead and get into a disassembly of the 226. Start by pulling the slide to the rear and then removing our magazine. This is our takedown lever here. I'll go ahead and push down to the 6 o'clock position and then put some pressure on the slide and release the slide. That will then allow the slide to come off the frame. Now under here we will remove our guide rod. This is a steel guide rod and spring. And then the barrel comes out the bottom, and then we are field stripped. So getting into the AREX, we'll go ahead and remove our magazine, locking the slide to the rear. Now we do have a takedown lever very similar to what we had on the P226, so I'll go ahead and throw that down into the 6 o'clock position. Now I did notice when I let the slide release lever, there is a tendency for the locking lever to retract back up into the locked position. It's probably designed to do that for when you put it back into assembly, you can just slide that back on, and I'll show you, and the thing will lock itself in place, so that saves you a step. So that's probably why I'm having an issue with it, but I'll go ahead and hold this down in position with my thumb and then release the slide, and then that'll allow the two halves to come apart just like on the 226. Here we do have a steel guide rod and spring, and then the barrel itself, and that is fully field stripped. So let's go ahead and talk about the frames. I'll start over here with the P226. So the frame of the 226 is an alloy, and it is hard coat anodized. Hard coat anodized is the same as type 3 anodizing. It's the same term. It is basically, the process is an electrochemical process where the part is dipped in a sulfuric acid bath and it's given a high voltage of electricity. What starts happening is an oxide film starts developing on the part, which then forms the surface protection, the surface finished product is what I'm trying to say. This type of finishing process is usually applied to soft metals like this. Also, it's the same type of finish you're usually going to see on AR-15s, for example. So go ahead and bringing this in, the grip texture, I actually really like the grip in general on the 226. We have a very nice deep cut here which fits very nicely into the web of your hand. Now the beaver tail isn't very long and aggressive, but that kind of short beaver tail with this deep cut still gives you ample protection from any type of hammer bite. There is also a very nice, good protruding swell here for the palm swell of your hand. It just fits in there almost like a glove to me. It just fits my hands perfectly. Grip texturing is not aggressive at all, very nice and light. You have it, of course, on both the sides and around the back, but it's smooth up the front, just with these serrations cut into the, the material of the frame itself. Here we have the magazine release, which is on the left-hand side of the pistol for our right-handed shooter. It is metal in construction and does have nice checkering on it. And then up here, as a single piece of the frame, there is a Picatinny rail up here at the front for mounting your lights and lasers. I already went over the decocker and the slide stop here, so we've already touched on that. Moving on the inside, of course, these guide rails for your slide are one single piece as part of the frame. On the internal, your, of course, ejector, trigger bar, slide stop, lever, all those parts are metal in construction as well. All right, moving into the AREX, this frame is machined from 7075 aluminum, and it is hard coat anodized, just like we saw in the 226. As machined in a single piece, there are the two guide rails up here at the top for your slide, and then down here at the bottom, the 1913 pick rail for your lights, lasers, and all that sort of stuff. There are nice serrations cut into either side of the trigger guard itself, and of course there are serrations up here on the front strap as well. Now, We do have serrations cut into the back, so these are grip panels. It is not a single wraparound piece like there is on the 226. The grip itself, to me, is a little bit beefier. Not as ergonomic, in my opinion, as a 226. Actually, this feels a lot to me like an M9, both in feel, style, and size. So if you pick up an M9, or if you're used to an M9, if you've served in the military or anything like that, you'll probably get an idea for how the grip feels, just a little bit big and beefy. If you have large hands, you'll feel right at home on it. You do have little contours here for your, of course, your index or your trigger finger and your thumb to sit into on either side. And it's just very nice, a light texturing or stippling here on either side. So not aggressive at all. Of course, because it is held in place by 2 Allen screws on either side. I haven't looked into the aftermarket, but I'm sure if there isn't already, there would be some other options available to you. Obviously, I've already gone over the function controls here, but all your internal parts, just like on the 226, are steel in construction. So finishing off with the barrels, I'll go ahead and start up here with the AREX. This is a one-piece forged barrel, and again, it is 4.25 inches in length, and it does have a nitro carbonized finish. Right up here on the feed ramp, there is very nice polishing, and it is a 1 in 10 twist. Moving down into the Sig 226 barrel, it is 4.4 inches in length, and it is machined from carbon steel and does have that nitron finish on it. There is no polishing here on the feed ramp, which is not a huge deal, and it is a 1 in 10 right-hand twist. Well, that is all the time I have for you today on these. If you enjoyed that, please let me know by hitting that like button. If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to our channel. If you have any questions at all, please leave those down in the comments section. I will try to get to as many of those as I can. Again, thank you so much for watching. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. We will see you next time.